started out in this, I had no clue, right? I had no clue what it meant to be a doctor of physical therapy. I had no idea of what it took to rehab athletes back after injuries. I had no idea about what it meant to be in business, especially for physical therapy or healthcare. And Noah and Sean and Janan, we all know that we get very little education in that area, right? And everything that we do in this world revolves around business, but yet we're never taught how to understand our own profession and how it works in the business. And then, I also didn't really understand anything about how, to integrate all of these new programs with the Sports Science Lab, Sports Lab, Marinovich stuff into our operations, into the brick and mortar. And also one of the biggest problems that I had was trying to train the staff, right? And, one of our main guys, Shane, when he was, was with us back in Cranberry at Revolution, it took him more than 6 months to try to pick this stuff up. So then that was where I ended up going, okay, I got to figure out a way to make this stuff more streamlined so people can learn it and understand it, and it's going to work better in the business model. And, and again, people are going to be able to basically facilitate this to clients and patients, without having to go through a 6-month or a 12-month training program. And funny enough, that was what Mike Maddox brought to me. He's like, hey, I know, what you're doing with all that ball work and all that stuff. He's like, how long does it take for you to train one of your trainers? And I was like, yeah, it's, probably about a 6-month turnaround. He's like, well, how are you ever going to run a sustainable business, right? And at that time, and this is, the point of this talk, I hadn't even really thought about that up until, around this time that I'm talking about, right? I was probably, 4 or 5 years into the business at this time before I had really thought, hey, what am I doing here? The reason was because I started this thing with, basically full of piss and vinegar and all balls. And I knew that I didn't want to, do what I was doing at the time, which I'm going to talk about more. But I didn't have this idea that I was going to be successful. I had this idea that I was going to survive and prove everybody wrong. But I didn't think, oh, okay, I'm going to have this really successful business. So I didn't start it, from the way that I should have. But again, I was only 30 years old, right? So, none of you guys on here except for Janan and I are even 30 yet, right? So, I had, again, just full of piss and vinegar at the time, which is what I'm going to talk about next.